Oh, it's working now, it says. Now it's working everywhere. All over the place. Oh, it's going to echo. Echo. Gotta stop that. All right, here we go. In the elder days of art, builders wrought with greatest care each minute and unseen part, for the gods are everywhere. The point of these lines is clear. In the old days, craftsmen did not cut corners. They worked carefully, and they took care with every aspect of their work. Every part of the product was considered, and each was designed and made to be exactly as it should be. These craftsmen did not relax their thoughtful self-discipline, even with respect to the features of their work that ordinarily would not be visible. Although no one would notice if these features were not quite right, the craftsman would be bothered by such Oh, this doesn't have sound? No. They would be bothered by such consciences. So nothing was swept under the rug. Or one might perhaps also say there was no bullshit. It does seem fitting to construe carelessly made, shoddy goods as in some way analogs of bullshit. But in what way? Is the resemblance that bullshit itself is invariably produced in a careless or self-indulgent manner, that it is never finely crafted, that in the making of it there is never the meticulous, attentive concern which detail to which Longfellow alludes? Is the bullshitter, by his very nature, a mindless slob? Is his product necessarily messy or unrefined? The word shit, to be sure, suggests this. Excrement is not designed or crafted at all. It was merely emitted or dumped. It may have a more or less coherent shape, or it might not, but it is not in any case certainly not wrought. The notion of carefully wrought bullshit involves then a certain inner strain. Thoughtful attention to detail requires discipline and objectivity. It entails accepting standards and limitations that forbid the indulgence of impulse or whim. It is this selflessness that, in connection with bullshit, strikes us as inopposite. In fact, it is not out of the question at all. The realms of advertising and of public relations, and nowadays the closely related realm of politics, are replete with instances of bullshit so unmitigated that they can serve among the most indisputable and classic paradigms of the concept. And in these realms, there are exquisite, sophisticated craftsmen who, with the help of advanced and demanding techniques of market research, of public opinion polling, of psychological testing, and so forth, dedicate themselves tirelessly to getting every word and image they produce exactly right. Oh, good morning. I didn't see you guys come in there. I was reading a little bit of On Bullshit, the world's first philosophical treatise and official collegiate work on the subject of bullshit, really taking it down, not just saying bullshit is lying, saying what is bullshit. And what he's talking about in this section, he's talking about whether or not bullshit can be finely crafted. Does bullshit imply that you're lazy? Does bullshit imply that you're not talented at bullshit? No, certainly not. He clearly consumes, like, a bullshitter can be a talented bullshitter. And I think that's what we're going to talk about today. I think it's going to tie in pretty well with what we've got coming up. And it's not political in the way you're thinking. But we're glad to be with you today. YouTube reported a 500 internal server error. As I was saying to myself, I push start broadcast and nothing happens. You know, it just keep pushing it. Nothing happens. Oh, yeah, it would say failed to go live. Start broadcast. Failed to go live. I was like, what do I do now? And I tried to start it on Periscope. I even got my cool Periscope microphone going, but they told me there was no sound on Periscope, so I turned them off. I don't know. Sometimes my fancy microphone doesn't plug in right on Periscope, but we fought through the difficulties here, and we continue to rage with Bitcoin Talk Show. When I checked earlier, we only had 2 likes, so we're hoping that we can get more than 2 likes today. If you've got a thumbs up out there, you can give us a thumbs up on this video. That'll help more people find the show. We're starting a little late because I was running behind schedule, and then we started a little bit later because YouTube wasn't ready either. But we've got some great stories for you today on Bitcoin Talk Show. Let's get rid of the repair monkey of YouTube and let's get on with the show. Today is Tuesday, August 21st, 2018. My name is Thomas Hunt, and here's what's happening today in Bitcoin. The price of Bitcoin is up 2.48% in the last 24 hours, with a last of 6,418, a high of 6,501, and a low of 6,243. That's $1 for 15,581 Satoshis, edging its way carefully back to the 15,000 Satoshi barrier. Just a quick update, since we've been tracking Bitcoins to Satoshis, we can tell you that it was around 22,000 Satoshis per dollar. Then it went all the way down to, I think, 5,000 or a little lower than that, 5,000 Satoshis a dollar. And now it's back up to 15,000 Satoshis a dollar. Very close. It's time to give the wheel a spin. Here we go. Big money, big money. The top 10 altcoins by volume against the price of Bitcoin. We have Ethereum down 1.25%, Bitcoin Cash down almost 1%, EOS down almost 1.5%, Ripple up 1.25%, the green spot on the board, Ethereum Classic down 2.5%, Litecoin almost even, up maybe 1/4 point, Dash down 4.5%, Ontology up 1%, and Qtum down around 2.5%, rounding out the top 10 altcoins against the price of Bitcoin. Checking out the top distributed applications on DApp Radar. IDEX remains in the lead, still less than 2,000 active users. Fork Delta falling behind with only 1,141. Still the only two distributed applications to have more than 1,000 users yesterday. We had Ethereum in third place with 557, followed by newcomer Supercard, apparently a gambling site, with 474 active users. FOMO 3D rounding out the top 5. CryptoKitties and Bancor pushed down into the 6th and 7th position. We've also never seen Augur in the top 5. However, it is up to 32nd place. Checking out the most active blockchains. Recently, we saw a move in this. This has been the most boring chart ever, but Steam passed BitShares for second place on most active blockchains, following our normal leader, EOS, which seems to be very, very active. Ethereum in fourth place with a full blockchain as always. Bitcoin in fifth place as usual at 100% blockchain capacity, but only 8,521 unconfirmed transactions, whereas Ethereum has 53,000 unconfirmed transactions and never seems to clear. Going to CoinDesk for the Bitcoin analysis. Rally ahead. Bitcoin's price may be charting a previous bold pattern. This is like a mystic. I have seen this in your past, and I think it will come true in your future. Oh, very good, very good. Let's go straight to the view. The Bitcoin market is looking similar to the one seen in the first 11 days of April. The cryptocurrency may consolidate for another day or two before rising sharply towards $7,000. Ooh, bullish. On the bearish side, a close below $6,000, the February low, would weaken the odds of Bitcoin repeating the history and would shift risk in favor of a drop to a June low of 5,755. As always, you can support the World Crypto Network by donating Bitcoin or any of the altcoins accepted by Trezor to this screen right now. We've also got our Patreon campaign where 32 patrons are donating $239 a month to support the World Crypto Network. And 80 patrons are donating $493 a month to support myself, Mad Bitcoins. Wow, so close to $500. So close. Meanwhile, at our Tallycoin campaign, we're holding steady at 0.05253 Bitcoin towards our goal of $1 million to support and spread the word about Bitcoin. We are 0.03% towards our goal. Donate to Tallycoin with a QR code right now. And we've got yesterday's videos on the World Crypto Network. We had Max Hillebrand with Why Bitcoin is a Store of Value First with Murad. Check it out right here on the World Crypto Network. Read Rothbard, use Bitcoin. And yesterday on Bitcoin Talk Show, let's find out what happened. We had a very active chat as per usual at 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Pacific Coast time. And then we had 101, make that 102 likes and 1,055 views. Pretty slow for a Monday. Let's check out the comments. We had 9 comments. Here's a great comment right here. Lena C. She includes a timestamp. It's always best when you include a timestamp, even if you want to disagree with me, etc. She says, "You exaggerate, Thomas. Let's say Roger tricks somebody to go all in on Bcash, but that person can exchange his life savings in Bitcoin, so it's not a total loss." I'm not exactly sure what she's saying here, but I do think hopefully no one invested their life savings into Bcash. That's probably an exaggeration, except for maybe Roger Ver and Jihan Wu. They invested their life savings into Bcash, we seem to see. But still, yes, they could convert it back to Bitcoin. They could get a percentage of their money back still if they sold now. But time is running out on that offer. And if you have too much Bcash and you try to sell it, I think the whole market would go down. So I'd be very careful. Looks like a ad for Shapeshift here. I've heard of them. Mustafa says, "Great Monday morning show. So much good information. Thank you, WCN." Thank you, Mustafa, and thanks for calling in. Fat Boy says, "Unlike the Ethereum blockchain, it actually clears." Lol. That was funny. And it's funny because it's true. It's sad. Crypto Noob says, "Thomas, you are the philosopher poet of Bitcoin. Illustrated perfectly at 4613, talking about Coinbase and Bitmain." And we talked yesterday about how Coinbase and Bitmain are both bridges, right? They're not towers. They're something that we need to get somewhere and something that we won't need in the future. When we reach the promised land, like Cortez, we'll burn our ships behind us because there is no going back. Once the world's converted over to a Bitcoin economy, you won't need a place like Coinbase to buy your Bitcoin. You'll just get some off Jim or Fred or Tony, or you'll get some at the supermarket or the restaurant. You'll just get your change in Bitcoin. It'll be easier. And what's a dollar bill good for anyway? But you can check that out on yesterday's show because Crypto Noobs included a timestamp. Remember, all you have to do is write the time into your comment, and YouTube will timestamp it for you. It's really great. Brian Jones says, "Every time I laugh when you mention the Bitseed thing, it's so funny that they refuse to acknowledge you. Great show as always." And it is pretty funny. I would like to support Bitseed and maybe even sell a couple of their devices for them. They could even give me an affiliate code. That'd be great. I'm just not sure they're still in business. I'm not sure they're still making those devices. They look pretty nice on the webpage, but no one writes back on Twitter when you write to them. So give that a try at bitseed.org or at bitseed.org on Twitter. They have the long version of their handle. But you can write them and ask them if they'll send us a Bitcoin node to try out here on the show. And if I can try it out, I'll recommend it for all of you. And I'd even work out a deal. I'll pay 50-50 or something. I mean, they could give me a discount. But it would be great for them if we could try it out. Also, I'm curious to know if the Bitseed is going to include a Lightning node. And I don't know. I suppose it matters. Is it a SegWit node? Is it an old Bitcoin node? I have a lot of questions for Bitseed. Do you think they'd have a representative or someone who could come on here? In the old days, it was John Light. I'm not sure if John Light's still with them anymore, but it would be great if we could hear back from Bitseed. And IBLB is cracking up because I read the Truth is Beauty, Beauty is Truth poem. And then I read the statement by Mr. Giuliani just a couple of days ago. And if you go back to the quote here at 22:26 from yesterday's show, it was kind of like a poem that I read. And he said, "Truth isn't truth," very assertively, Mr. Giuliani. It's hard to believe he used to be a lawyer, huh? He used to be a prosecutor. Truth isn't truth. But let's get on with the news. Justin writes on Twitter, "Hyperinflation illustrated. The pile of Venezuelan bolivars on the left is larger than the roll of toilet paper on the right that it can buy." Wow, look at that, a stunning example of hyperinflation. That is a stack of money. Wow. And that's the toilet paper. So the theory is here, well, money's pretty darn dirty, but you could always use money for something at some point. Yesterday I watched E.T. It was amazing. I gave it 5 stars. I haven't seen E.T. in a long time. E.T. was one of the first movies I ever saw in a movie theater. It was even a re-release. Movies were so popular then they'd bring it back a couple years later, and you'd get to see it in the theater again, because there was no videotapes. There was no video market. So the only way you could see E.T. was in the theaters every 4 years, if you were lucky, if it was a good movie. If it was a bad movie or a, cult classic like Lebowski or something, it could completely disappear. There would be no way to watch it. Can you imagine that? People would have books with, images of films printed in them so that you could remember the film and you could kind of study it by studying the book, because it was impossible for you to watch the movie. So, E.T. was great, especially neat to see the influence of, Stranger Things. Pretty much all of Stranger Things comes from one scene in E.T. where the kids are playing D&D, and they're so 80s, and all of the clothes of Stranger Things come from E.T., the whole world. So it was neat to see the original, and, just to be reminded, even though this is a popular film and, great effects and everything, it's about the storytelling and it's about the shots, and Spielberg's an incredible master. Watching this and Jaws just recently, I wanna watch Close Encounters and, maybe Hook next, but he's just great. So, if you haven't seen E.T. in a while, check it out. Still a fantastic movie. Over at Axios, we've got the big article of the day, CoinDesk's quietly profitable media business. That's right. Not only does CoinDesk have the Coin Census conference, say that 10 times fast, but they've got the Coin Census conference. And they've also got a great way to make money with their articles. And it seems like a very bad deal that it was sold for a mere $500,000. Barry Silbert's likely killing it on CoinDesk now. So congratulations to CoinDesk. They make money. So mainly on that conference, but apparently on their articles as well. So good stuff. Samson Mao on Twitter. Anyone that says, they say, who is the real blockchain expert in your opinion? And Samson says, anyone that says Bitcoin, not blockchain. And it really is funny to see these corporations and other people chase their own tails and get forever into this blockchain business. And hopefully it'll stop soon. But we thought that in 2014, and now it's back again with a vengeance. People love the blockchain, but they don't understand that it's only good for Bitcoin. Aaron Von Weirdum says, turns out if you start a coin by hard fork without consensus, the precedent is to hard fork without consensus. And he's just talking about the BCH network and how Bitcoin Cash appears to be forking into 2 coins, Bitcoin Cash and Bitcoin Cash Satoshi's Vision. These names just keep getting longer. Of course, Satoshi's Vision is Craig Wright. Oakland Athletics 41-14 since June 16th. Best in the Major League Baseball in this span. Go A's. Go A's. And we've got our real article of the day from Bloomberg. As VJ says on Twitter, Bloomberg published a piece today uncovering the fact that Bcash has very little merchant adoption, despite Roger Ver's unrelenting effort to promote it to merchants as a low-fee payment rail. There's an economic reason for this. Let's explore. VJ continues in his tweet. The fundamental flaw in Ver and Jihan Wu's economic vision is that they assume that money is first and primarily a medium of exchange. They do not understand that all market-based monies must evolve through a store of value phase first, before they can be suitable as a medium of exchange. If a fixed supply monetary good is widely accepted as a medium of exchange, its purchasing power per unit will be massively higher than when it was first created and when no one was using it. Jihan Wu even stated that he thinks in 3 to 5 years, Bcash can reach $100,000 per Bcash token. If you believe this to be true and you were the owner of Bcash tokens, there would be a massive opportunity cost to spending your tokens in an exchange, certainly much greater than any expected savings to be had by transacting it, rather than a traditional payment rail. The people who use their Bitcoin transactionally in the early days, like the guy who spent 10,000 Bitcoin to buy two pizzas, understand this opportunity cost very well. Although some people, like Ver and Wu, have not learned this lesson. It's only when a fixed supply monetary good has become widely adopted that its purchasing power will stabilize and it will become suitable for use as a medium of exchange. This explains why merchants aren't adopting cryptocurrencies as a payment rail. They don't see any consumer usage because token owners are more interested in hodling than suffering the opportunity cost of relinquishing their tokens in trade. Bitcoin hodlers have understood this fundamental economic lesson, and by holding Bitcoin as it appreciates, they are actually hastening its eventual evolution to becoming full fledged money. Great stuff from VJ Boyapati at real_VJ on Twitter. Great stuff. And as the article says, Bitcoin Jesus is having a hard time winning over true believers. Roger Ver, the virtual currency advocate often referred to as Bitcoin Jesus, is finding it tough to win converts to the supposed second coming of the world's biggest cryptocurrency. The offshoot as of the digital coin known as Bitcoin Cash is barely being used in commerce, according to blockchain analytics firm Chain Analysis. A review of the payments received by the world's 17 largest crypto merchant processing services, such as BitPay, Coinify, and GoCoin, found that Bitcoin Cash payments slumped to $3.7 million in May from a high of $10.5 million in March. Bitcoin payments totaled $60 million in May, down from a peak of $412 million in September. As you can see in this chart, certainly Bitcoin payment use went up and is down right now, strangely kind of matching the price. But we can see the Bitcoin Cash usage is this red line here at the bottom that seems like a dying whale. It just kind of goes up for air and then back down. The decline mirrors the plunge in the value of the digital currency this year, with Bitcoin tumbling about 55% and Bitcoin Cash crashing 75%. After peaking in December, Bitcoin Cash's market capitalization has also dropped by 85% to 9.4 billion. While it's still the fourth largest cryptocurrency, the market cap is less than 10% of Bitcoin, according to data tracker CoinMarketCap. There are fewer users of Bitcoin Cash and fewer holders. Kim Grauer, senior economist at Chain Analysis, said in a phone interview. Bitcoin Cash split from Bitcoin a year ago. Ver switched his allegiance to Bitcoin Cash, invested it, and overhauled his Bitcoin.com website to focus on the cryptocurrency. Advocates of each have been trading barbs on Twitter, Reddit, and other forums ever since, and even engaged in the recent debate over the ownership of Bitcoin.org. Ver didn't immediately respond to a request for comment. Adoption in commerce has been slow, partly the result of concentrated ownership. About 56% of Bitcoin Cash is controlled by 67 wallets, not located on exchanges, according to Chain Analysis. Of those two wallets hold between 10,000 and 100,000 Bitcoin Cash. And the chances are the wealthiest holders are the ones sending it to a lot of traffic to the merchant services. Ver has remained undeterred. He highlighted how many transactions Bitcoin Cash is doing in an August 13th tweet saying, the long-term price of a cryptocurrency is a function of its usefulness as a currency. Interesting stuff about Roger Ver this morning. Definitely when we open up the call-in section, going to be talking a lot more about Roger Ver. Want to get your opinion about this. Has he completely lost his mind? Who will sell first, Bitmain or Roger Ver? Or will they all go down with the ship? Let's see. If you believe forking and splitting the chain every time there's a disagreement is a sustainable development approach, you must be smoking something really potent. Eric Lombroso, core developer, throwing it down about Bcash again. The New York Times, this is a comparison of two different articles. Everyone is getting hilariously rich, and you're not. January 13th, 2018. And now, after the Bitcoin boom, hard lessons for cryptocurrency investors. Interesting the way they rooted it on, and then when it failed, they're there to stab you in the face again. Alan Hughes says, and I agree with him strongly, he says, a greatest hits album is not an original LP recording like Thriller. Michael Jackson is still number one. It's very strange, but the Eagles' greatest hits album has just surpassed Michael Jackson's Thriller to become the best-selling album in history. It's a bit of a surprise because it's a greatest hits album. It's not really an album. Whereas obviously the Michael Jackson Thriller is a unique album that he made at one time. It doesn't seem right. I really enjoyed this tweet by Beautyon at Beautyon_. He says the most valuable coin ever produced. This is the Cassatius 1,000 Bitcoin gold coin. The coin was worth about $1,000 worth of gold and also included 1,000 Bitcoin, if you can believe that. 1,000 Bitcoin on one coin. This coin at one point was selling from $10,000 to $1 million. As of March 2015, a reasonable price is around $300,000. But with the rise of Bitcoin in late 2017, in January 2018, so we're talking at the peak, this one coin was worth $15 million. Likely the most valuable coin in the world. In defense of ROMs, a solution to dying games and broken copyright laws. People are talking a lot about ROMs, the way that you can emulate old Nintendo and Atari games. Basically, we need ROMs because ROMs can preserve these games as they are in their original form and they can be studied online. These games have passed over from being commercial objects to being objects of art. Michael Casey writes, hoping this period of market weakness is an opportunity for the blockchain community in all of its messy diversity to collectively build something valuable. You mean like Bitcoin? What's not valuable about Bitcoin? Give it time. Give it time. You people are in such a hurry with your Wall Street projects and your spoiled nature. He says, losing the Lambos. It's time to get serious about crypto's big questions. Interesting stuff from Michael J. Casey over at CoinDesk. The main part I agree with this here is the outcome of this grand experiment is unknowable. So give us some time. And yes, 5 years in crypto qualifies you for a veteran. That's pretty cool. Do I get my 5-year in crypto badge? Where can I apply? Let me in. Ad blockers ain't got nothing on the New York City takeout market. Check out this. It's a Capital One ad inside of a fortune cookie. I don't know if the guy printed it himself or something, or if they are just reaching out to the absolute edges of the market, but you can save on Capital One inside of this fortune cookie. How crazy is that? Roger Ver put out these false comparisons saying that Bitcoin Cash is better than Bitcoin. And this guy brought up this great old ad from the old days. This was against the iPhone 4 in support of the Galaxy S2. And it compared the iPhone to a stone. iPhone matches up very close to a stone or a rock. Pretty funny stuff. Oh, and Michael predicted this was going to be tomorrow's topics on Mad Bitcoins, that Bitcoin Jesus is having a hard time winning over true believers. And it seems we just talked about Roger yesterday. Everybody's wondering what he's going to do. And now that we know that Jihan Wu and Bitmain sold 50,000 Bitcoin in exchange for a mere 1 million B trash. What a terrible, terrible decision. Welcome to Bitcoin. Please take note of the following warning. This space is haunted by fraudulent websites and notorious scammers. The worst examples of which are Bitcoin.com and Roger Ver, which are aggressively promoting a fake version of Bitcoin. And as you can see from the website, Bitcoin.com, the website that lies to you, the home of fraud and con artists, a pathetic and bad place to work that you should quit immediately. It's destroying your reputation if you are related to Bitcoin.com. You need to get out now. Look at this headline. Why Bitcoin Cash is Bitcoin. You could say anything. I mean, this is why Diet Coke is Coke. This is why Pepsi is Coke. This is why apples are oranges. Good one, Raj. Good one. Pictures like this do not help my ability to stay away from eBay. And Rice is reminding us of when Sony did sport and it meant yellow. And someone's got a great collection here of Sony sport handycams and Walkmans and Watchmans. Great collection. Looks nice. Just a reminder, you're not too old to publish your first book. A great little list of authors who publish their books late in life. Looks like a lot of people in their 40s, their 50s, their 70s, even one at 96. So it's never too late to publish your first book. Inspiring tweet. And don't forget that Ver said Mt. Gox was solvent, Bitcoin XT was better than Bitcoin, Bitcoin Classic was better than Bitcoin, Bitcoin Unlimited was better than Bitcoin, SegWit 2x was better than Bitcoin, and that bitch is the real Bitcoin. Maybe it's time Ver should become a weatherman. He's wrong all the time, yet people still listen. Good stuff from the 4 Satoshis at T Satoshis on Twitter. Bitcoin ABC calls N-Chain's bluff, vows to proceed with contentious hard fork upgrade. Ooh, Bitcoin Cash is splitting into two. No one really cares. Bitcoin advice from Seeking Alpha. Buy the ETF rejection dip. The upcoming SEC decision could provide great buying opportunity for Bitcoin. The bottom is near. Conversation is shifting from hype and price to actual use cases. Some of the actual use cases of cryptocurrency involve a shift in the very power structures of the world. Are we ready for cyber warfare and attacks on national cryptocurrency? Sounds like a spacey and far out article from Seeking Alpha, where pretty much I think anyone can write articles, but at least they're supporting Bitcoin. Backed. The Klingon exchange will trade pre-funded Bitcoin, not paper claims. CEO confirms. This is good news. They'd be in real trouble if they didn't hold the Bitcoin they were selling. There's a possibility Bitcoin goes way up, Bitcoin goes way down. You're in a much safer position if you hold the assets. And I've seen Andy Hoffman on Twitter believing that it's the backed people buying the Bitcoin now. Just want to remind you, Back said they've been working on their exchange for 14 months. So if you've been writing the software, doing the marketing, getting ready for 14 months, why wouldn't you also be buying the Bitcoin over the counter, dollar cost averaging? Banks take their own advice. I don't think they're buying over the counter. It's a strange idea. They're saying in the chat, why Bitcoin Cash is the real Bitcoin Cash. That is a problem. And I wonder why Roger didn't just hold both sides of the fork, right? All he had to do was hold both sides of the fork and he'd be all set. If he'd only held his Bitcoin. Roger must be kicking himself right now. That's tough. As they say over at Cointelegraph, Bitcoin Cash use in commerce sees significant decrease. And it wasn't going to work. They tried it before. Commerce is a chicken and an egg problem. You've got to have lots of chickens and lots of eggs at the same time. It's really difficult to do that. But we'd like to go ahead and open up the call-in portion of this show. This is the chance where you get to tell me what you think about Roger Ver and Craig Wright and everything that's going on in the world of Bitcoin and Bcash. Are we coming back? Is the price going up? Why do we keep staying in this range? Tell me about it now on Bitcoin Talk Show. You can call us now at 518-600-3345. 1949, or Skype us at World Crypto Network, all one word. Remember, it's first come, first serve. So if someone gets on the line, you probably have to wait until they get off the line before you can get on the line again. So give us a call right now. Christopher in the chat says Bitcoin is about to moon. He thinks it's going to happen right now as we're watching it. Go over to Bitcoin Wisdom, get a nicer looking chart. I don't know. Big green candle. I don't know about that one on the hour long. Let's see. Ooh, that's loud. Hear that one. Hello, caller. You're live on the World Crypto Network. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Hello, my name is Louie and I'm calling from China.
All right, Louie, what's on your mind about Bitcoin today?
I wanted to give a little bit of my experience with Bitcoin, and because if you are living in America and not in a foreign country, and you don't have to do international transfer in your life, maybe you don't know the pain that it is to go through the banking system and the cost that it involve. And when you are using Bitcoin, yeah, if you want to pin me on this beautiful Google map that you have there, Google, I'm in a place called Guangzhou. So basically Canton. I don't know if you heard of it. It's really close to Hong Kong. I can't hear you.
Oh, all right, I'll look for it. We'll see.
Okay.
But sure, go ahead. Keep going. What were you saying about Bitcoin?
Yeah, I wanted to say that if you are in a foreign nation and trying to do an international transfer, it's quite hard. And using Bitcoin, it's much faster, it's much cheaper. So I really see the use case in Bitcoin itself. I also, yeah, wanted to do say that I entered into this Bitcoin world quite uh, not so long ago. Actually, I was with I think most of the FOMOs during November and December. But fortunately for me, at the time, I didn't understand much about cryptocurrencies and all that stuff. So I didn't buy Bitcoin at the time. I bought a lot of shitcoin, basically, or altcoins. And fortunately for me, the altcoin that I bought didn't do that bad. Actually, I bought some Stellar at the time. I bought some Ripple. I bought some what else? Anyways, EOS, and all those coins actually did quite well compared to BTC all the way to now. Actually, so I was quite lucky in my bad luck, I would say.
That's the thing about those
Right
altcoins. A
now,
lot of times, it's like throwing darts at the board, but every once in a time your dart hits, so it works out.
yeah, and exactly, and I was so lucky to hit quite a few good darts, and and now I after being in the world of cryptocurrency for so long, I more and more leaning toward the Bitcoin maximalist view, and I'm quite but right now I'm still holding on most of the or to say the shitcoin that I have, in and I'm slowly dollar cost averaging on Bitcoin itself, and I'm quite okay with it. Actually, I think it's I don't know if you are familiar with the my mother tongue is French, so pardon my English, but I don't know if you are familiar with the Pascalian bet. Basically, Pascal is a philosopher that was trying to convince his contemporaries to believe in God during the Enlightenment. And what was his theory is that it's better to believe in God and to be a good Christian because you have really not much to do and a lot to win, right? Because if you're a good Christian, well, you have eternity of in paradise, and if you're not, well, maybe you have hell, and if you don't believe in it, well, maybe you should still be a good Christian, because end of the day it's not much to do, and the reward exceed the risk of not having done the right bet. And my vision on Bitcoin is the same. I really believe that Bitcoin can go only two ways: to zero or to millions. So I'm like, I'm betting on that, and I see that I mean, I'm only betting money that I'm not wishing, but I don't mind about losing. But I think, first, I think I've studied economics, and I think that Bitcoins, I mean, how to say, clicks all the right dots. I don't know how to say that, but anyway, it makes total sense in an economical view. Yeah, exactly. There you find it.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Bitcoin checks all the right boxes. Yeah, it just seems like it's the right thing that's going to take off in the future. And I agree. Zero or millions, a little more slanted towards millions on my side. But yes, I definitely recall Pascal's wager. I'd forgotten it was Pascal, of course. You know, the computing programming language named after him and everything. But yeah, he's absolutely right. It's a simpler proposition just to be generally good and believe in God, because then you get into heaven. Whereas if you
Yeah,
be generally good and don't believe in God, you don't get into heaven, and it doesn't really cost you very much to believe in
yeah,
God. The marginal costs.
exactly.
Yeah.
So basically, the money I'm wishing to lose, I'm not wishing to lose, but I'm okay to lose, is basically my action as a my action as a good Christian in a Pascal wager, if you if you understand the analogy there.
It's
And
funny how quickly
so,
Bitcoin's becoming a religion. I saw people talking about it on Twitter and claiming it was religion and so on and so forth. But you're pretty much right from a religious perspective. Either you believe Bitcoin's coming or not, you should put some money on it just in case it does come.
yes,
You know? Yeah.
because you have not much to lose. I mean, if it's money that you are okay to lose at the end, but the potential reward is enormous, because if it actually makes sense, and I think it makes sense economically, Bitcoin, then the reward will be so massive that the little risk you take will seem so insignificant, right?
Oh, now where were you 7 years ago? I could have bought in much sooner.
Yeah, obviously, and it's really stupid, because I'm not a total geek, but I'm using computer. I'm on the internet all the time, and I knew Bitcoin like 7 years ago, but for me, I didn't like dig in it. Like, I didn't really search it. For me, it was just like a geek money that didn't make no sense. But I'm in tech, so like last year in 2017, I went in Singapore on different meetings about Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies and all. And even at the time, I was like, it uses too much energy. It doesn't make sense. It's dumb. And I was actually leaning more toward Ether, and it's even why when I started to get in cryptocurrencies, I was like I was how to say, eating all that Bitcoin is MySpace crap, and and so I made quite a mistake. Yeah.
It's a really attractive package that they put on over there. They've got all the marketing, all the ideas. They say it's Turing complete supercomputer, a world computer, all these things. But then it just turns out to be this platform for all these ICOs. And then all the ICOs are holding a bunch of Ethereum. And eventually they're going to have to sell too, right? They have to get money to pay for things. So,
Exactly. I uh, I actually never liked Ethereum from the beginning. I never bought a single Ether. I if I had to choose an altcoin, uh, I would probably choose ADA. I think Cardano is quite a good project. I like the fact that it's very transparent in its development and all. But for me, yeah, most of people, even people that love altcoins, if you ask them, would you rather put all your money right now in Bitcoin or any altcoin that you can think of? I mean, most of people, they still say Bitcoin, because it's betting on altcoins is it's actually like betting on Bitcoin with leverage, kind of, because if Bitcoin do well, you can be kind of confident that a lot of altcoin gonna go much faster up, and maybe crash at some point. But if you want to do quick bucks, it might be a good idea. Um, but
Seems fair enough, and that's interesting because that's what Roger Ver did, right? Is Roger Ver sold all of his Bitcoin in exchange for an altcoin. He took that bet, or at least he sold a lot of his Bitcoin in exchange for an altcoin. We don't know how much, but if he backed up his word with his actions, he must have sold a lot. But thanks so much for the call, Louie. Very exciting to hear from you inside China. Give us a call anytime and let us know what's going on there in Bitcoin. It's good stuff.
excellent, and thank you for receiving me on the World Crypto Network. I listen to your broadcast religiously, at least a few times a week, and it's the first time for me calling. And thank you for having me today.
Thanks so much for your support. Give us a call anytime. And you can call us now on Skype at World Crypto Network, taking calls from all over the world, or on Google Voice or a real phone call at 518 600 1949. Remember, it's first come, first serve. Be sure to turn your speaker down, maybe have headphones if you're calling on the computer, or just use your phone. You can install Skype on your phone almost anywhere in the world. You can also phone call us almost anywhere in the world. So here we go. Hello, caller. You're live on the World Crypto Network. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Maybe have headphones if you're calling on the computer, or just use your phone. You could install.
Got to turn the speaker down. All right. What's your name and where are you calling from? Oh, I think we lost him. Sometimes it just happens too quickly. You just get right on the air. You don't know what to do. So you can give us another call right now at 518 600 1949, or you can call us on Skype at World Crypto Network. I was just talking about Roger Ver, how he might have sold a good portion of his Bitcoin for Bitcoin Cash. And even the previous caller couldn't believe that. He's like, why would someone, sure, you like an altcoin and maybe you put 10% or 20% or something into that altcoin. But to put 100% of your money into the altcoin, man, that's a big investment. That's a lot. That's a big investment. Saying Bitcoin Judas in the audience. It's become a Bob Dylan show when he went electric. Judas, no. And other things that have been going on. I saw a advertisement recently for a new documentary about Leonard Skinner. Sounds great. It's going to be on Showtime. As you guys may or may not, Leonard Skinner wrote the song Freebird. If I leave you here tomorrow, will you still remember me? A great song. One of his girlfriends said that to him, and I think he left anyway. He just went back on the road. But Leonard Skinner is very famous for having this album cover where they're surrounded by fire, and then, as a bad luck or irony, what would have you turned out, most of the band died in a plane crash, probably on fire. So interesting stuff about Leonard Skinner. I'd want to check that out on Showtime. I also caught a great documentary. It was on some family channel. It was on cable somewhere, but it was called The Making of Pet Sounds. And it was about the Beach Boys album, Pet Sounds, and just how amazing it was and how amazing the Beach Boys were as well. You don't realize each year, like 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, they have a number one hit. Every year they are just cranking these things out. And then, as if it wasn't enough to master the rather simple and minimalist genre of surf music, Brian Wilson goes on to write the masterpiece, which is Pet Sounds. The documentary covers everything. It talks all about the Wrecking Crew, which was the band that played on all of those albums. You wonder why all those albums were so tight. Those musicians were playing with each other every day. It was amazing stuff. There's other documentaries about the Wrecking Crew and the one they had in Detroit. I'm blocking on it now, but it was like the Sound Machine or something. They were the backup crew for Detroit. and they're on all the Motown hits, and they're just the tightest band. Really amazing. That's why you can hear it on Pet Sounds. You can hear how good the musicians are. The Beach Boys, they had a touring group, but eventually they weren't allowed to play on the albums because these musicians were so good. So good. As always, you can call us now at 518-600-1949 or on Skype at World Crypto Network. Otherwise, we might look for a poem to read. We could talk more about Pascal's wager, where he said, like the caller was saying, that it's just easier to believe in God. Like, and it's more about, I mean, how much belief God really requires. And this goes back to that basic idea. Oh, lots of people call in and get religious. Hello, caller. You're live on the World Crypto Network. What's your name and where are you calling from?
My name's Jason from Union City, California. Long-time listener, first-time caller. How's it going?
Right. How's it going, Jason? What's on your mind about Bitcoin today?
Man, I just want to know a little more stuff about Lightning Network and some of the real-life use cases that we might be able to get in the coming future.
Sure. Well, do you have the basics on the Lightning Network, or where would you like to
Yeah,
start?
pretty much with the second layer, but I just really want to know what can I, when can we expect it? What kind of good stuff can we,
Sure. Well, the great thing is that it's available right now, kind of. If you have an Android device, you can get a testnet wallet, or you can get a mainnet wallet. If you have an iOS device, you can get a testnet wallet. It's still very much in beta, though. It's not something you want to, put too much money into or really rely on too much. But basically, if you take your $20 in Bitcoin, you send it to the Lightning Network, you put it into Lightning, it kind of locks down your keys. Then you can trade little shards or smaller pieces of your keys to other people. These shards pass through many hands like a hot dog at a baseball park, going down the line. And along the way, everyone gets a little piece of the hot dog in exchange for delivering the hot dog. And at the end, maybe Starbucks would get the hot dog and they would give you a cup of coffee in real life. And because the transactions are small and the way the network's set up, the fees are also incredibly small, and we can do millions and maybe even billions of transactions on this network. So Lightning Network would be great for a cup of coffee. It's also great for subscriptions and micropayments. Things like if I wanted to subscribe to my top 30 YouTubers, and if I want to give them something decent, each one of them, I could give them $1 a piece, right? But then I'm paying $30 a month for YouTube. That's just a lot of money. If I wanted to give them maybe 10 cents a piece, now I'm paying $3 a month for YouTube. Everybody gets 10 cents. Previously, that 10 cents would be eaten up by administration costs. Even in Bitcoin, the fees are higher than 10 cents usually. So it's hard to get that kind of a transaction in. The theory is with Lightning Network, there's less friction on these very small transactions. You don't even have to pay a penny. You can pay very, very small fractions of a penny. And this opens up, hopefully, a new realm of micropayments. And we've talked a lot about micropayments. They take a lot of cognitive action. Like if you were to give me a penny right now, is it worth my trouble to stop and pick up that penny? Right? I'm busy. I'm in a hurry. What if the street was covered with pennies? Would you just stop and pick them up all day? You'll never get anything done. That's part of the problem. And that's also part of the problem with sending them. It's not worth my time to send you a penny either. It's not worth anybody's time. But if we can automate it, if we can replicate it, and if we can use this network, we can do all kinds of things that originally we talked about doing on Bitcoin. But as Bitcoin became more and more popular, the transaction fees naturally went up. Now with this second layer, we can do that. And in case the second layer gets too popular, I would postulate, I don't know for sure, but I think they could build a third layer or a fourth layer or just another second layer. Now that we have the SegWit upgrade, we can link into the Bitcoin directly, and people can create these side chains and these second layers. So Bitcoin really is becoming a technology platform rather than just something you would buy coffee with.
Nice. Is there any Bitcoin meetups coming up in San Francisco?
Well, there's the San Francisco Bitcoin meetup. They usually have about 2 or 3 meetups every month. They have a speaking meetup, they have a drink up, and then they have a meetup where they support a local bar that takes Bitcoin. So check it out on meetup.com. They usually have at least 3 a month, so it's pretty active up there. It's a good time.
Oh man, thank you so much, man. You're doing a great job. Keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah, thanks so much for your call, and give us a call anytime.
Cool. Thanks, man.
All right, talk to you soon. And you can give us a call now at 518-600-1949 or on Skype World Crypto Network. We're talking about Bitcoin, we're talking about Roger Ver, and we're talking about Lightning Network. Remember, we had that whole civil war last year. Are we going to adopt SegWit or not? And the users won. The users said, hey, let's adopt SegWit. Let's have better software. And some people didn't like it. They're like, I like Bitcoin the old way. I don't want things to ever change. I like it in my rocking chair. And they got left behind. Hello, caller. You're live on the World Crypto Network. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Hello, Thomas. This is Mustafa calling from Laredo, Texas.
Oh, Laredo, the saddest song there ever was. The streets of Laredo. Oh, wow, Mustafa, you're way down by the border today. Exciting stuff.
I'm right on the border. Yep.
Wow.
I'm doing some weird things out here today.
Well,
I wanted to call.
gotta do what you gotta do.
Talk about there's the French Chinese guy that just called in,
Sure.
and he talking about how he's comparing Bitcoin to a religion and saying how it's not much for you to just put a little bit into it because you never know what would happen, and that was actually a very good point. That's a very good. I think that's a very good point when you're talking to people or promoting to somebody that doesn't know much about Bitcoin or that's skeptical about it because all he's heard is BitConnect and all the negative things in the space. So that I thought that was a very good argument to make. It's like, hey, it could go to zero or it could go to the moon. It's either or. It's not going to be anything in between. So, good advice is to just take a couple $100 or whatever and just throw it in there and forget about it and maybe come check back in 5 years.
I think that's the attitude people should have, but sadly, they're more likely to say Bitcoin's a scam and ignore it for another 5 years, and then to come back in 5 years when the price is whatever it is, and then they'll get in. I mean, I tried to tell family and friends about Bitcoin for 5 years, and nobody ever called me on their own until Bitcoin went to 18K. Then they started calling me. Then they started doing the work, right? And that's part of this is even back then, like to say 5 years ago, like if I wanted to put $500 in Bitcoin, it was too hard. I didn't know where to start. I didn't know where to go. Things weren't that easy. And I imagine for a lot of people right now, if you want to put $500 into Bitcoin, you don't know where to start. So you just got to have that strength where you can say, okay, I'm going to Google it. I'm going to learn something I don't know. I'm going to watch a YouTube video. I'm going to follow instructions that I don't understand. And if you're capable of doing those things, you can get yourself some Bitcoin. If you're not, you're going to have to wait 3 to 5 years or until you meet someone nice that's going to help you. And I really think that's what we need to do for a lot of people in the world is hold their hands while they buy their first Bitcoin. They're not ready to do it on their own, but maybe with a little pushing and a prodding, we can get them in. And if we get their friends and we get their friends and we get their friends, and that's how this really spreads. If you really want to know, it's not these giant companies and corporations and all these rich people making money. It's normal people actually using Bitcoin, which really only happens when you share about it. And the best way to do that is not to try to convince them, just to try to convince them to accept a free dollar. Will you take a free dollar in Bitcoin to see how it works? Of course, why not? As opposed to, I want to teach you about economics and the dollar and the Federal Reserve are bad. Which is a great argument for a libertarian or a cyberpunk or somebody like that. But for a normal person, let's just go with, hey, you want a free dollar? And just get them to try it. And just right, like 5 minutes in, you're like, boom, yep. You just tried Bitcoin.
Most people don't care about libertarianism or the Fed, and nobody really wants those details. Like they don't want to see the truth because the truth hurts, so they'd rather live the lie of the government will protect us, the government knows best. I don't know. I've been reading the Atlas Shrugged by Ayn Rand lately, and it's kind of talking about the same thing. There's a lot of people that have like blind faith in the government, and even though it's just ruining the economy in the country, you know. And
Yeah, I'd be careful with that. I'd be
people that I
careful.
meet are like that, I guess.
Yeah, I'd be careful with that one. She does as much harm as she does good. But I don't know what's happening in the book. Tell me about the plot. Tell me what's happening right now.
Right now, they're at the part where the government they passed the laws that like restricts the all the businesses from moving to Colorado, because Colorado was having the boom, like economic boom, and then so all the big businesses just disappeared, and
I mean, I do love the book.
nobody can get any oil, and nobody can get any metals or any
Yeah.
steel, because all these guys just pretty much just closed up shop and left, because they were, they had taxes levied against them.
Yeah, and when they had to
Too much money, basically.
they forced them to share their secrets
Pass
and
laws because it said you are making too much money and you need to, give to the people that are not, less fortunate than you. And it's kind of like it's an anti-capitalistic idea coming from Washington.
Oh yeah, well she sets up the ideal and perfect straw men for her to then tear down. They speak in the perfect language and everything. I mean, they're just the good guys are so good and the bad guys are so bad. But at the same time, if you really look at it from a larger perspective, John Galt is a terrorist who is intent on destroying his society. Every time he takes out one of those leaders, like the head of Taggart Transcontinental or Reardon Metal or Francisco D'Anconia, or somebody joins him, they destroy and wreck the industry they leave behind. Like you can't get trains anymore and you can't get deliveries and food. And I don't know, she never talks about the casualties and the millions of people that John Galt left behind and essentially murdered by taking his light from the world. And again, she would be stereotyping me and blah, blah, blah. John Galt was supposed to share his light and all these things. But really, it would be nice if he did. I mean, I really think he could overturn the world. I just think her idea of hiding your light under a bushel and withdrawing from a society because it doesn't fit your standards isn't very useful. It's just not very adaptive. Like I'm into bootstrapping, right? So John Galt's in a bad situation, right? He's made this incredible motor, and the company is gonna, make him make lesser motors, or they won't let him own everything, or they won't listen to him right away, right? So John Galt's impatient. He's in a hurry. He's the smartest person alive. But it's just so dark when he's like, I don't want to help anyone and no one should help anyone and all this kind of stuff. It's just a very dangerous book. It works for some, it kind of turns you against society. Whereas really like all those ideas are
Well, I mean,
interesting.
in a way, I mean, that's your point of view, or that's what you got out of it. But like, what I see from, I'm still like halfway into the book or whatever. But
Wow.
my point of view on it is like, you help people that are already helping themselves. You don't. It's if you're only helping people that are just standing in the street and asking for a handout, well, you're not really helping them. You're just helping them survive another day, but they're not producing anything. They're not doing anything to help themselves. So in a way, you're kind of wasting your energy that you're working so hard to accumulate, and just to give to this person that really, if you didn't go help them, they probably die. So they're worthless to society is what I'm trying to say. And instead of them just saying, oh, you have so much money, you need to give me some of your money, they should be asking you, how can I learn from you so I can make my own living, so I can be productive or be as productive as you are. And I think the book kind of talks about how the government during that time was more focused on just spreading the wealth around everyone, and kind of, more focused on equality instead of focusing on production, on raising the production and helping people that are producing to produce more, because that in the long term will help everybody, with more jobs and more, more of a bigger, grow the ecosystem.
Well, I definitely agree. That's what she's saying, and I think you grasp it well. But it's still basically what it comes down to is she's saying that you should teach everyone And I'm agreeing we should try to teach everyone. But unfortunately, if you look at the idiocracy theory, there are so many stupid people and they just have no chance. And it's just kind of unfair to say that you can teach them or that there is some kind of an educational solution. And when it really comes down to it, uh, I don't know. It's a Christian idea. It's an altruistic idea. It's what Ayn Rand would hate, of course. But in a way, we kind of have to take care of them. We kind of have to help them out. There's kind of the way that the economic activity, especially planting crops and growing crops work, is that we have extra crops and we can keep these people alive. I would argue against her idea that they are worthless or they don't contribute. I think back to books like Lord of the Rings, things like that. Gollum seems like a worthless character, but at the very end, Gollum's greed, spoiler, of course, but Gollum's greed for the ring, he grabs it, he falls into Mount Doom. Gollum is a very important character in the book. He comes through. And sometimes you can't tell why a person is important or why a person is valuable. And maybe they do, really sweet, boring things all day and they don't really serve a great purpose, but they're kind to a dog or they're kind to their neighbor.
True.
And maybe this
I
kindness
agree with
ripples
that,
throughout
but
all our
I think that
society. I
you should
mean,
be forced to help people. I don't think that you should be required by law to give up most of your income to help people that are less fortunate. I think you should just do it like because of that's who you are, and if you choose not to, well then don't, and just live your life however you want to live your life.
well, and I think we're going to get a chance to test this out with Bitcoin. I was big into the idea that Bitcoin could stop war because that was one of my big things. I was like, how can I stop war? How can I get rid of the central banks? And then I was like, oh wow, Bitcoin, both of those, fantastic. But what it also does is it stops disaster relief and it stops road production and it stops NASA or whatever else you want to say that the government does that I think is good. So in that way, we're going to have to see if people really do support charity. And what I'm afraid is there's this concept called the tragedy of the commons, that if you give something away for free, people won't pay for it. Disaster relief, people won't come through when they actually need it. And we're gonna have to tell people that it's not like the old days with like the Bruce Springsteen telethons, and it was optional for you to donate. It's more like now, if you don't donate, we can't buy a boat, we can't drive there and save those drowning people. Right? It's a one-to-one relationship. The money for the boat has to be there in the Bitcoin world, whereas the other world is full of credit and fake money, so you can always print that. So I think it's a very interesting world that we're going towards, where a lot of these ideas are going to be tested. Will people really stand up and do charity, or do they have to be slightly coerced? Things like churches, where they make you pay 10% of your income as a tithe. They say that it's optional and all those kinds of things, but a lot of those churches, it's really not optional, and they really want the 10%. So it's interesting to see.
Right. No, I think it would work out for the best if there was no type of forced tax or whatever, where and if we lived in a deflationary economy, I think most people would have a little bit of wealth to where if tragedy did hit, the community would be able to help itself. It's kind of like last year in Houston when they had the hurricanes. I had a friend of mine that was down there, and he wasn't affected much by it, but a lot of his neighbors and a lot of the surrounding areas were devastated.
Mhm.
And he told me that him and his friends would just go and help people, and everybody in the community was kind of doing that. Whoever was able to help, not by donating money, but by donating their time, they were able to help. And if you drive through Houston today, you wouldn't even be able to tell that they were completely devastated by a hurricane last year, because it was the community effect that just took over. And there wasn't much government help at the time. I don't know if they got it later, but at the time, it was just kind of like your neighbor was helping you, people from down the street or people from across town that weren't really affected, and it was kind of like it was a very positive thing, So I think it might be a case to case basis. Maybe someplace, another city where people aren't very generous as they are here in Texas, that it would be tragic, But I don't know. I think that would be a better way than to just sit and wait for the government to come and help you, because when you do something selfless to help other people, I think that that positivity feedback loop that you get, makes you it makes society better as a whole, as opposed to if there was tragedy in our town and everybody was just sitting around saying, oh well, I don't have to go help my neighbor, the government's going to come help them. That's more of a negative attitude towards the situation, and it kind of grows that way too. So it will increase the negativity.
Well, I think I think I agree with you. Community is very important, and that we do need our communities to step up, and we need to make our communities stronger and return to maybe old values where communities were stronger and we had a better sense of that. I know a lot of times it's hard to even feel like there is any community anymore. I mean, you go to the same Starbucks every morning, but no one recognizes you. It's very few people have that friendly local business kind of thing anymore, at least from my experience living in bigger cities, things like that. But I do think we're going to get a test of this, and people are discussing these ideas in the chat, and I think that's very positive and very good. And one of the things they're saying is, of course, if you were to pay these people who won't work, etc., or are kind of stupid or can't work or can't learn these new ideas to lift themselves up, why would you pay them and how much would you pay them, all these things. I think this comes into basic income and the potential oncoming of the robots. When the robots are doing all the jobs, this idea of paying people is a little bit more palatable, because because everyone's out of work, not just the very small category of people that can't learn or are having trouble, but everyone is suddenly out of work, and we all need basic income. And certainly, I think you could have an incentive system above that, where if you earn more money than basic income, you get a nicer apartment or a nicer, food or car or whatever you want to, some kind of luxury items. But at this basic level, taking care of everyone seems like something we're capable of. And it's more about that we can do it, that we should do it, and that there will be unintended consequences of benefits of people who come through, like Gollum or like Sam, like they're saying in the chat. Sam Ganji is no hero. He's no mighty man. He's an average guy. He's a gardener. He likes that girl down at the bar. He's got a simple life. But Sam goes out and saves the world. Nobody expected that. Nobody expected the hobbits in general. That's the whole point of that book, is that you can't stay at home. They screw it up in the movies. They take the ending out. But if you read the ending of the actual Lord of the Rings trilogy, the message is the Shire gets wrecked too. You cannot stay in the Shire. You have to engage in the world. You have to improve the world. And if you really want to take it down to it, I mean, obviously, J.R.R. Tolkien is a Christian. He's writing a Christian allegory, and he's saying you have to face evil head on. You not only just go out into the world, but face the actual true evil and defeat it, or the Shire will never be safe. That's what he's saying. It's much bigger than
I mean, I think my only my main concern about helping people and having kind of a socialist society is, like, I used to live in Belgium, and they're a very socialist country, and they tax you a lot, but they have universal health care and all that kind of stuff. But what I found was, and they have like a basic income for people. If you don't work, everybody gets 2,000 euros a month. So if your job doesn't pay you 2,000 euros, the government will give you the difference. Or if you don't work at all, they'll give you 2,000 euros a month. And I had a friend of mine that him and his wife were working. They had very good jobs. One was like a biologist, the other was working in IT or whatever. And their combined monthly income was like 9,000 euros, I think, or something like that. But they were getting taxed over 60% because of their high income. So they ended up leaving, actually, because they told me, like, what's the point of living here and working harder than most people if I end up getting paid the exact same, because we live in this socialist society. So these people, I met a lot of people there that were discouraged to go find a job or find a better one because there was no monetary incentive for them to do that. So in a way, it kind of kills progress. It kills progress for your business. There's no point to try to advance in your job. There's no point to try to do something better. You just kind of like, well, I'm not going to make any more money. The more money I make, the more taxes I'm going to have to pay. I'm just going to go into a different tax bracket. I'm still going to be making I don't know, whatever, $4,000 a month or whatever it is, because, you know, me and my wife make too much money. So we're still getting just as much money as if we didn't work. So I can just stay at home and not work, you know?
That's definitely the
Then
that's definitely the
and
sorry.
then, you know, it kind of like the whole country will shut down.
That's definitely the counter argument given against socialism. That's pretty much where it always is. I think that you're right. It certainly applies in the past, but what I worry about is the future. In the future, where the robots are doing all of the basic jobs and even a lot of the second level jobs, robots can write news and sports articles. Robots can write screenplays and make pictures and paintings and artworks. Robots can understand a lot more than we're giving them credit for right now. In that future, I think what we really have to talk about is that capitalism is not about giving us purpose. Like you say, people that want to earn more money are motivated to earn more money. So they go get higher degrees, they get better at the guitar, they try harder, they apply themselves more, they get lucky breaks, whatever happens. Some people succeed, some people don't. People are motivated to do this. I think that we're going to have to go to a world more like Star Trek The Next Generation, where Captain Picard says, well, everyone kind of has enough money to do what they want. If you want to sit there and be in VR or in the holodeck all day, you can kind of do that. But a lot of people here have decided to study science or to study medicine or to study politics or English literature, whatever people want to study. You have to bring your own purpose. And I think that a lot of the problem is even that the purpose of making lots of money ends up to be kind of empty inside. And that more and more people who previously would have been fine, you know, working as a night watchman, making a little bit of money, going home. You know, it takes up a lot of your time to be a night watchman. It takes up a lot of your time to do a lot of these jobs that are going to go away and be taken by robots. And these people are going to have to think of better things to do other than just being motivated by money. So I think it could lead to a real utopia, a real renaissance, right? A rediscovering of ourselves. Or in the dark way, maybe like Vonnegut said in Player Piano, these people just go around smashing the robots. And the new hobby is smashing the robots, and we make robots to fix the robots, and back and forth. Maybe the Animatrix gets in there. Another really good movie if you haven't checked it out, prequel to the Matrix. But what do you think, Mustafa? Will the robots, will the basic income? What are we going to do in this future?
I think there's going to be like a huge class separation. There's going to be people that are served by the robots, and there's going to be people that are serving the robots.
Ooh, dark. And it's like a scanner darkly, you know, does the scanner see lightly or darkly? And also, you know, do the robots serve a government? Do they serve a corporation? Do they serve an individual? Do they serve a family? We have no idea. Are they the best robots? Are other robots going to come in and clean them out? I don't know, but there's a lot of stuff going on there in the future and robots and basic income. But thanks so much, Mustafa, for the call. And thanks for
robotics, though, because that's definitely going to be the future.
Yeah, get into robotics, get into AI.
Labor.
Yeah, exactly. If you can learn, and if you can learn good, these are the subjects you got to get into because not much else matters. I mean, it's nice to produce art and these kind of things, but even that, the computer might end up being able to do better than all of us. So.
I don't know. Yeah. Well, anyways, I'm gonna let you go. It's a lot of stuff to think about.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
Pretty dark, I guess.
maybe the darkest.
Solve everything. No.
I always feel like it's going to be the darkest or it's going to be the brightest, right? And it's going to go either way, and we just have to contribute to make it the brightest, is what I think.
Yep. All right. Yeah, cool. All right, man. Well, thanks for taking my call.
Yep.
See you guys later.
Thanks so much, Mustafa, and thanks for bringing up Ayn Rand and Atlas Shrugged. That was a really interesting conversation. I think we had a lot of good points on both sides. So.
For sure. Talk to you later, man.
Talk to you later. And you can give us a call now at 518-600-1949, or you can call us on Skype at World Crypto Network, all one word. It's around 10:40 a.m. out here on the not so West Coast, and we've got about 20 minutes left, so maybe 2 or 3 more callers if you guys call now. Remember to turn your speaker down, have maybe headphones if you're calling from the computer, that kind of thing. and I don't know. They're all there's some negative talk in the chat. There's some good chat, some negative. It's a mixture. They say Star Trek only works for Hollyweird. Oh, but I've got my personal communicator. Didn't you get yours? They dreamed it. Now it's real. I don't know. More and more stuff coming real. Let's go back a while. Let's see what's going on back here. Carnegie, only help those who will help themselves. That seems fair. Hello, caller. You're live on the World Crypto Network. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Hey, Thomas, it's Dave in Atlanta. I talked to you like last January or something. How you been?
Been doing good. How's it going down there in Atlanta, Dave?
Pretty good, pretty good. Nice day, a little humid, but we'll make it through. But man, I was very interested that you got on the subject of the basic income. And, you know, it really, I mean, we can use cryptocurrency to, you know, sort of fix these problems. You know, I guess the conflict between socialism and capitalism. And there is a basic income crypto that was called Grant Coin. And in fact, I was serving on the board, and now it's called Mana. They kind of went a little bit of a different direction, but it's pretty interesting. But one reason that I got involved in it is, you know, I've been contacting people in crypto for a long time because there's actually another philosophy that's not really capitalism or socialism that does address, you know, the fact that capital is concentrating and eventually, you know, robots are going to be doing so much. And the solution is called the just third way because it's like a third solution as opposed to the two, you know, capitalism, socialism, or, you know, whether you call it individual, you know, versus collective or whatever.
Well, that does sound like something we need because a lot of people are all in on capitalism or they're all in on socialism, when the reality, a mix of the two, might work the best for everyone involved, right?
Right, right. And that's why I started studying it because I've always been a businessman and I was just, you know, puzzled by the whole boom and bust thing. And it came always back to the money system. And that is the solution. The money system is the solution. And it could be done with crypto, although it would be very difficult. But that's why I was telling you when I talked to you last time that Bitcoin is not post scarcity. And that's why, you know, now this is really confusing because a lot of people have been told all their lives that there's either a fractional reserve or there's a gold standard or something like that, or now a Bitcoin, you know, type thing with scarcity. But it's the corruption that's messed it up. If the people own the money system or the crypto system, all right, then you take the concept of loaning money into existence, which is really what has empowered the super rich because, you know, they can take on new projects and use bank money to get things going. So all you really need to have is either like a Federal Reserve that's run like a credit union, basically, where everyone has a voting share and, you know, true, real audits, you know, and they're not creating money for mysterious things like black budgets. There's no way to even know all the stuff they're doing, you know? So.
I'd agree with that. But I mean, part of the budget for the Black Ops, they hide it in the rest of the other things. They don't really buy $200,000 toilets or anything. It's the hidden options. But what's neat about Bitcoin is you can actually see how much is in each account. So if we were having a fundraiser and we needed to raise a certain amount, only that amount would be there. So once it's there, you could stop paying. But I agree with you. It'd be great for basic income because of all the contracts that could be automated. You wouldn't have to have some kind of new basic income division of the government, much like unemployment insurance or something like that. Maybe it could be a smart contract. Maybe it could just be put into existence and run. Something like that might be the way to hand out this money. Yeah.
Right, right. So the thing is, crypto could serve the role, and because we keep, you know, trying to convince people that the money system needs to be changed, but those in power won't change it, you know. So I think crypto is going to be the solution. It's kind of like Bucky Fuller said don't try to change the existing system. You know, try to create something that is much better, and it will replace it. And I think that's what crypto gives us an opportunity to do. And like I say, it would be very hard to do it, but it is possible. And the model that I would follow to do it, it was actually developed by a guy named Louis Kelso, and he's the one that started like the employee ownership laws and stuff. They got them passed in the United States to sort of incentivize employee ownership. But he took it a step further in this concept called capital homesteading. And basically that's where, like, you take the amount of new productive growth in the economy for an entire year and divide that by the number of citizens, and everyone, you know, that voluntarily wants to participate would get a credit to invest in dividend paying corporations. I know it gets confusing, but if anyone wants to study it, also I do a podcast. It's on Spreaker, and it's called the Just Third Way podcast. And I also, one of the podcasts that I did compares the basic income to the Just Third Way. And when I say Just Third Way, that's just like some people kind of combined social justice with the Kelso stuff and formed an organization called the Center for Economic and Social Justice. It's pretty interesting if anyone wants to check it out, and they can contact us, you know.
Well, that sounds great. And I definitely agree with you on the Buckminster Fuller quote. He was great. He had a great way of changing systems and analyzing things. It reminds me of the Archimedes quote, where if you give me a long enough lever and a place to stand, I will move the world. And that's always what I thought Satoshi did with Bitcoin, that really, like Prometheus, he brought fire from the gods and he changed our world forever. And then he disappeared. So really just the greatest magician ever, Satoshi Nakamoto. So
Absolutely. And I think it's Dorian. I think he's the one. And that's another thing about Bitcoin, the big question mark. And we kind of touched on it when I talked to you a while back. If he really, I mean, has control of those keys, I mean, and everyone started to use Bitcoin. I mean, this guy would, anyone that might be Satoshi is going to be a kidnapped victim and tortured, you know.
it would be quite something if Dorian was Satoshi. I don't know. I've met Dorian, and I've met Nick Scavo, and I've met Vitalik Buterin, and I would say Nick Scavo is more like Vitalik Buterin than Dorian is more like Vitalik. So to have the mind that makes a coin, it seems more like a Nick Scavo invention. But we'll have to wait and see.
I thought Dorian was the guy that lived in like New Mexico, that his middle name was Satoshi. He was from Japan or whatever.
From mainly what I remember, Dorian was found by Newsweek. Newsweek, which isn't even an independent company anymore, they're owned by the Daily Beast. They needed a cover story. So this lady misinterpreted a conversation with Dorian, who was using his real name. So basically, if you believe Satoshi is just using his real name and you can look him up in the phone book, then Dorian Satoshi is likely your man. But no, it was believed for about half a morning. We were really excited that Dorian was Satoshi, and then after that, it was kind of went away. There's also Craig Wright, the Australian. He claims to be Satoshi and provided proof to Gavin Andresen. The proof was good enough to fool Gavin, but then he couldn't repeat it, and he couldn't fool anyone else. And nobody really thinks he's Satoshi. But those are the. And then Nick Scavo is a computer programmer who, or he's a cryptographer and a theorizer about this stuff. And he is not mentioned in the Satoshi white paper. So a lot of people think that he didn't mention himself on purpose. So it's kind of an obvious tell. Also, linguistically, the words and the language, the way he types, matched up to Scavo. So
Interesting. But yeah, I like Bitcoin, and I've been amazed by it. I just think that there will be another step, that happens. And I think it's going to be something where money is created into existence, but only for productive growth of new businesses. Because when you do it that way, it's not fractional. And another thing about that is you cannot have compound interest. That is another thing that has totally screwed things up. It's the opacity, creating money for frivolous things, and the compound interest. And you get rid of those three things and have it owned by the people and totally auditable. And man, we will have this thing solved for the rest of humanity.
Well, it sounds positive to me. I can't wait. Thanks so much, Dave, for your call. Give us a call anytime.
I will. Thanks, Thomas.
All right. And you can call us now at 518-600-1949 or on Skype at World Crypto Network, all one word. It's about 10:50. We have time for maybe 2 more callers if you guys are kind of quick. Maybe 1 more caller if you're slow. But remember, it's first come, first serve. So give us a call right now. If you're in the chat and you want to express your opinion, call up on the show. I'll give you a couple minutes. I'll even let you talk about a crazy altcoin or whatever you want. I won't always agree with you, but I'll let you talk. Hello, caller. You're live on the World Crypto Network. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Howdy, howdy. I'm the Dutch caller from yesterday.
All right. How's it going in the Netherlands today?
Well, dull weather, but fine. Sunny enough, right?
All right. You were gonna.
I'm gonna try to like combine all the topics that have been discussed during the entire program.
All right. Go for it.
All right. So it started out with the Roger Ver thing, right? And that his all in on Bitcoin Cash, and I don't really understand it. It's hard to. I don't really grasp Ver. I don't really grasp Craig Wright. Maybe Craig is a bit easier, but it's really hard to look into the soul of a person, right? To see their intentions. But
with the Roger thing, I think there's still a chance that maybe he doesn't have the money, or maybe he's being coerced or something. There's always that possibility. Whereas Craig Wright, it just seems more straightforward. He's always been kind of a questionable character, and he still kind of is. But go ahead.
Right, I agree. Like plain stupidity. It would be easier to believe in Roger Ver's case than I think in Craig's, right? Like actual malice. Anyway, the main misunderstanding in terms of like the Bitcoin Cash stuff is that it's the payment network thing, right? Doing everything on the main chain, and that kind of stuff. We have to bring it to merchandise. We have to be able to pay, and we have to do it all on the blockchain. And we kind of realize that it's not going to work out, right? Because of the extreme redundancy in the network, of like wanting people to run their own nodes in order to verify for themselves, and the duplication of the blockchain for the double spend protection. The system doesn't really work for that. But we are able to probably build payment networks on top of it, right? I think the best way I've heard it described, I think it was Trace Mayer, that a Bitcoin transaction, the best analogy for a Bitcoin transaction is like recasting a gold bar. It's the apex of like a monetary action. It's not a transaction of a gold bar. It's actually taking the gold bar, melting it, and then recasting it and putting your own seal on it. And so we will probably be able to build systems off of it in order to create micropayment networks. And these micropayment networks are going to be important where most probably on the internet. Bitcoin is internet money. The first big use cases are probably going to be on the internet. And micropayments are important because we're living in the information age, but we're still lacking in terms of the information market. There are big businesses like Google, they're harvesting information, this notion of big data, because it allows them to work with it and could produce new services with them. So it's of value. It's of value for these big corporations. But you, as the producer of the information, don't really get paid at this stage. So, and there are a lot of reasons for it. And one of the big ones is that we kind of lack payment infrastructure. The transaction costs are simply too high to transact on such a level that CAPTCHA is, I think, a very good example. It's like, why? It would be great if I get paid if I would do a CAPTCHA, because then the website have their anti-bot protection. CAPTCHA has their processing of like images or words or whatever, and I get paid for the effort that I do on working on it. However small.
It's starting to feel like they're sending you multiple CAPTCHAs too. I think they're having us solve them for other people, and that we're actually training the AI as well. Because a lot of Google Maps data, what is this storefront? Are there cars in these pictures?
Right.
We should be getting paid.
The AIs of like CAPTCHA is able to sell this information. So
yeah, it's amazing.
So that's why I say we're living in the information age, but we're lacking in the information market, where these connections that cause imbalances, cost externalizations, unnecessary intermediaries, all that kind of stuff that produced this service-oriented infrastructure with an monetary scheme of adverts, right? Advertisement. So I get the information to get to sell it to an advertiser to target you and get your attention in order to manipulate you. So it's backfiring to us, right? And that's because we're not paying for it. It has to be paid somewhere. So I could go on to it, but I want to side skip to another point where, like, what is Bitcoin based on? Because you also touted it as like, I want to stop wars, and that's why I want Bitcoin. And I have this alternate perspective that, well, in first instance, I'm not sure to what extent war will actually cease, but in the other instance is that and this also goes to the libertarian caller, that I don't want violence, I want cooperation. I would state that order is always underpinned by the ability to enact force, right? If order is a law only makes sense if you can enforce the law. And given this notion, even Bitcoin works this way. And Bitcoin is based on an internal battlefield of electronic warfare, of SHA-256 brute forcing, where we create a balance of power. And within the balance of power, there is no particular winner, but we facilitate the safety for the commons where everybody can participate in. And I'm done.
All right. Well, I definitely agree with you on the first part. I think you've really got something going here. If you think about the internet and you think about how the geeks made it, it was kind of haphazard. It was kind of more like, can we do this, rather than should we do this, or we have a plan to do this. So like you say, a lot of the data was left out in the open. Google was able to come along, download the entire internet, then analyze it to see the links between it, and based upon those links, they built their search engine. We provided all those links. We never got any money for Google building their search engine. Afterwards, they had to monetize everything with advertisements. It was kind of a stopgap, a bootstrap. It wasn't the initial idea. I don't think the computer geeks even supported it. I know I've had an ad blocker for 20 years now or something. It's a surprise to me that it took these websites so long to start putting up these ad blockers where they say, hey, you're using our site but not paying. So this has led to, of course, tragedy of the commons. People like myself aren't paid. Other people who provide good information aren't paid. People that provide mediocre or bad information or set up a website gathering everyone else's information, they get all the money. So that maybe we should remake the internet, get rid of the ad system, have this kind of always paying for everything, but always paying for everything in a micro payments way where you don't really notice it and it doesn't really hurt your bottom line. But somehow those micro payments all stitched together give us a new system and allow independent content creators to survive, and independent programmers to survive, and all kinds of other people to contribute to our internet online culture and society. And that it just wasn't finished yet. And we've been using a kind of a beta version of the internet. And that maybe with Bitcoin and Lightning Network and all of these other technologies, we can finally fulfill the actual vision and dream of the internet.
Right. And I want to tie in artificial intelligence into this, because I see a way. I'm not necessarily sure if this is if this is actually gonna work out. But if you look like at the AI ASICs are produced by Bitmain. So if we get to a point where artificial intelligence is commodified, and these things they scale, of course, right? I can always get like a supercomputer that's 10 times as large, and crunch even more numbers. But if I can do useful things with a box at home that analyzes me, right? It's as totalitarian and prison planet as it can be, but I'm the prison owner of my own prison. So I'm the Orwellian observer of my own life, but I'm not sharing that information with anybody else. But it's going into my own box and actually providing useful information and feedback. And if I'm a historian, let's say on a particular subject, I can train my machine to be like the expert on that particular subject in understanding. And I can then sell that information because it's easier for me to connect my box to the internet and just answer questions like a Google. People go to the historianbot.com and ask questions and pay for answers. And then now we have a way to capitalize on the information that we build, or the heuristics that we build up in artificial intelligence, on the people who actually produce it, and not on some aggregate side. But the aggregate side can still exist because they only have to buy up information by doing questions automatically and then bundling it and giving a more generalized service.
I think you're absolutely right on this. I want to interject here. You're saying, yes, people could sell their historian data, they could sell their entertainment data, their kind of anything they would write or create. But in the same way, you could sell your fitness data. Everyone wants to know if they're being more fit, if they're eating the right things, and you want to tell the AI that. And right now, if you tell the AI, it shares it with Facebook, or it shares it with Google, or even worse, it shares it with Facebook, and then Facebook resells it to 5 other people that you don't even know. And your data is now helping people that you never got a cut for, you never got to pay for, even just basic data like that. I agree with you. The general concept is wrong. The data needs to go first into your private box. It needs to be analyzed by your private AI in some way where it can't be extrapolated outward. And then you need the results of that thing, like that everything on TV tells me to sign up for this DNA program, and they all want to swab my cheek and tell me about my ancestors, but they get a copy of that data too. I'm not just sending them my DNA so I can get the information, they're getting the information too. And I think you'd agree with me, you'd say that's a deal breaker. That's part of this whole problem. If I sell the information, that's fine, but it also needs to be tokenized and probably encrypted in a way so that I could sell it to Facebook. But if Facebook tried to sell it to Google, it would lock up, and Google would have to either pay me, or it wouldn't be possible, depending on how I'd chosen to share my data. We need much more controls on this data that we're currently just giving away. Right?
I'm not sure how that would, like the tokenization, I'm not particularly sure how that would work, because if I have the data, I can still copy it, right? Double spend protection on this kind of stuff seems particularly hard.
It's very difficult after you let someone actually view the data, because they could capture it, they could reform it, certainly. But just in general, some kind of, that access control, once the data becomes so important, or even a theft. If Google broke into Facebook's servers and stole my data, somehow I would be able to tell that was still my data because of, a key or a hash or something like that.
The point would be is that it would be cheaper to buy at the source than at a second party. Because if you would let's say I keep my same price, then let's say I sell it for $5 to somebody. He now wants to resell it. He either has to like sell it for $5 or less, and then he's screwing himself, or more, right? So he could. So in most instances, it would be probably cheaper to buy at the source directly anyway.
It might be like polling versus voting. Voting is actual data. We actually know the person walked 5 miles today or whatever. Whereas polling is, you say you walked 5 miles, but we can't really confirm it. Getting the data from the individuals, buying it, directly from 10,000 people previously would be a big pain in the butt, right? You'd have to manage all the contracts, all the payments and that. Maybe with the smart contracts, the cryptocurrency, you could more efficiently buy more data directly, and we go away from this idea of polling and percentages, and we polled 10 people to signify 1,000 or whatever, and actually actually vote, have the 1,000 people's actual results. It would be a different data set. It would be more accurate. So maybe it would be worth more money because it's more accurate.
All right. So I foresee like reorganizations in business structures where and this is all in relation to this notion of a basic income, because I think the notion of a basic universal basic income is just lazy thinking. It's we're confronted with a possible problem where in the paradigm that we are in right now, I'm just like linearly extrapolating stuff and come up with the easiest solution that I think is a fix. And that would be my first critique of of like a basic income, where I would say it's like, well, let's first see how far we get in like trying to get the infrastructure there so we can reorganize this stuff so the externalizations and the undercutting and all that kind of stuff isn't happening anymore, and people actually get paid, and then analyze what the situation is. And if it's still crap, then we can always get a universal basic income. But it's like you can always do that, but the harder stuff, the more difficult stuff, I think is more important than evangelizing on a universal basic income.
Sure. Yeah, I agree. It would be better to find a solution and to reorganize our society, as you're saying, rather than to just go with basic income. The problem might be as a stopgap. It depends how fast this happens. If the robots replace our jobs in the next 5 years, we're going to need some kind of a backup plan, a safety net. If they replace our jobs leisurely over the next 25 years, we might be able to adapt and have less need for a safety net or even a smaller safety net. But I do think that we're still talking about the same idea here, which is we're in this future right now where it's capitalism and it's oil and it's production and it's planned obsolescence, all of these kind of ideas that we've worked on so hard for the last 200 years through industrialization and getting rid of slavery, replacing it with wage slavery, et cetera, all these things we've done. And now we want to get to that far away future of like the Venus Project or Star Trek The Next Generation. Everyone's happy working on their own projects. Everyone's working together, that kind of thing. But we don't know how to get there. There's this time in between, and we have several of the tools now with open source software and Linux and the internet and now Bitcoin. We have several of the tools, but they aren't connected together. It's kind of like the situation that Linus felt when Stallman had made all the GNU tools, and there's all these GNU tools out there, but there weren't combined into an operating system. You couldn't use an all GNU operating system until Linus came along and made Linux. So maybe we're waiting for Bitcoin and all these other tools, Lightning Network, even maybe Ethereum, all this stuff to be connected together by some, Satoshi above Satoshi, who's going to help, make us the next step of what we need. So it's very interesting time, I think. Very interesting time.
I agree. I wish you good luck with the rest of your show.
Well, thank you so much for the call, and definitely give us a call back at any time. It's great to talk about these ideas. We got a lot of good comments in the chat. Everybody's really enjoying your ideas and the way you're presenting them. So thank you so much for your call.
Cool, no problem. See ya.
All right. And great call to end on. I think we're going to head towards the end of the show. Standing up here, stretching it out. But yeah, I need to show the graphics again and just thank everyone for calling in. It really makes the show possible. Thanks for giving us a thumbs up and a share. I think we had around 150, 170 live viewers during the show, participating in the chat, talking on the phone, everything like that. We're going to continue to talk about these ideas. I think they're right in the wheelhouse of cryptocurrency and Bitcoin and the future. So always a good time to go read up on these ideas and to get ready for tomorrow's show. So as always, you can support us by donating Bitcoin or any of the crazy altcoins to the QR code on your screen right now. We've also got the Patreon campaign at patreon.com/WCN or patreon.com/madbitcoins. And if you want to donate to our buy and hold fund, this is a fund that we're going to hold until it's worth $1 million so that we can spread the word about Bitcoin at the World Crypto Network. Go ahead and donate right here. We will hold that money until it's worth $1 million. Good stuff. So thanks so much for watching, and until next time, bye-bye.